time, Dr. Freeman? Is it really that time again?
Well, hello everyone, it is I, your favourite internet disappointment, Optical, back with another video on this forsaken website. So if you remember last year, I'd done a video regarding Portal 3, about how some reports were coming out that were kind of leading me to believe that this was going to be an installment in the Portal franchise. Well, it's not that anymore. In fact, it's something just exciting, because from recent reports, this game is none other than Half-Life 3. So give me just a few minutes of your time, I'll explain it all. Let's get to it. After the release of Half-Life Alyx, Valve began to work on a new project, and this project was codenamed as Citadel. Now, we didn't have much details on what Citadel was, but later on down the line, it's what we now know as Deadlock. But what's been really interesting about Deadlock is that certain data miners had begun to look into the files, and they found a string of different pieces of source code, codenamed HLX. And HLX garnered the interest of two content creators that are well known to the Valve community, Tyler McVicker and Gabe Follower. And when they began to inspect the code, what they had found is references to a string of enemies, different weapon sounds, references to the HEV suit, which is what you'll know to be our protagonist, Gordon Freeman, to wear. So, what else supports it being a Half-Life game? Well, currently there is over 9 Half-Life games. You've got Half-Life, Half-Life Blue Shift, Half-Life Opposing Force, Half-Life Decay, and then you've got Half-Life 2, Half-Life 2 Lost Coast, Half-Life 2 Episode 1, and Half-Life 2 Episode 2. So that brings you up to 9 games so far. And then when you have HLX, well, X is 10 in Roman numerals, so Half-Life 10. But, of course, it wouldn't make sense to call it Half-Life 10 because we only have the mainline ones, which are Half-Life 1, Half-Life 2, Half-Life 2 Episode 1, and Half-Life 2 Episode 2. Now, it could be that this ends up getting called Half-Life 2 Episode 3, but it seems very unlikely, considering we've also just had Half-Life Alyx, and Half-Life Alyx actually had retconned the ending of Half-Life 2 Episode 2. Therefore, it's become agreed that this is most likely Half-Life 3, and to be honest, Valve has been very vocal about Half-Life recently. In fact, on their 20th anniversary, they discussed the making of the franchise, and also the making of the episode that never came to be, Half-Life 2 Episode 3. With this, they provided screenshots, gave us a rough idea of what would be happening, and we'd be exploring the Borealis. If you didn't know what the Borealis was, well, it actually was a vessel designed by Aperture Science that you'll know to be Black Mesa's opposing laboratory in Portal. But what was interesting is that according to the lore of this, the Borealis disappeared. But what was so interesting about Half-Life 2 Episode 3 is that we was actually going to explore a model of the Borealis, but due to Episode 3's cancellation, this never came to light. And now fast forward to 2020, where Half-Life Alyx released, we delved back into the world of Half-Life, and it was a complete success. It pretty much meant that, well, Valve was pulling those stops and delving back into the universe that we all know and love. Which brings us to now. With HLX, they have been getting developers from many different studios, bringing them into Valve to innovate upon the core mechanics of Half-Life. Some of these things include a new gore system, they include new weapon sounds, they include procedural generated environments, and that they also include new enemy types. Some people first thought that Half-Life X was going to be Half-Life Zen because Zen was the fictional dimension in the Half-Life universe, but considering this is going to be the 10th Half-Life game, and that X is obviously 10 in Roman numerals, it just makes sense to call it Half-Life 3 because they kind of left Half-Life 2 Episode 3, and I think it makes sense to pick it up, call it Half-Life 3, because it is kind of what Half-Life Alyx did set up immediately after, because if you didn't see it, which, you know, this game was released 5 years ago, but I'll still give a spoiler warning regardless, but what happened at the end is that G-Man had put Alyx in stasis, and then had brought Gordon Freeman back, and Eli Vance was like, okay, we've got work to do, and he gives him his crowbar back. And then, it just sort of teased that, yeah, things are kicking back into gear. And if you really want to feel old, the last time a Half-Life game came out on console was in 2007 for Half-Life 2 Episode 2, and that was over 17 years ago, so congratulations, I've now made you all feel old. And in fact, in hindsight, I've made myself feel even older. And truthfully, we don't know too much about what else is going on, but there are some rumours circulating that actually we're going to get a reveal of this Half-Life project sooner than later. And personally, I believe we're going to see it at the Game Awards. I think that this would be a perfect time to do it because so many people will tune in, and it would just make sense to drop a bombshell reveal like that. And what else supports this is that, well, Jeff Keighley has done a lot of written works for Valve, and so therefore Valve and Jeff Keighley have a pretty good relationship with each other, and so it would make sense for them to go ahead and be like, okay, well, let's drop it at the Game Awards. I don't think Valve would do it at Steam Next Fest because Steam Next Fest doesn't have as big as an audience as what the Game Awards has. But safe to say, I'm pretty excited for whenever it gets revealed because this has been something nearly 2 decades in the making, and I think it's just a very exciting time to see how this all comes to life. That being said, please take care of yourself, love yourself, and goodbye.